This is a Manfrotto 161MK2B, and I'm going to talk about making adjustments to the center column to repair an issue that that I have. I think others probably have it as well, and that is when you lower the center column, it skips gears. It sort of makes a clunk sound when you're lowering the center column. And the repair is to kind of just readjust some parts that are inside the spider that hold the spider to the center column. So this is kind of what the top of the spider looks like. I call the part that attaches the center column to the legs the spider. I think a lot of people call it that, but it's kind of a term maybe you've never heard. And on this one, you can see that it has the Manfrotto logo over on the right. You can see that next to the spirit bubble level, there's like a bolt. And there's actually a plate on top of this that you do not need to take off. But you know, when you look at yours, it's going to look like this with the plate attached. And I am using this diagram here to help explain how to put the parts back together. And one thing you should note in this diagram that I took from Manfrotto, the top plate is missing. So that's why when you look at the hand crank, it shows a cutout as opposed to showing the crank. And when you look at the lock-off knob to the right, it doesn't show the knob. So, you know, the lock-off knob here is on the left, the hand crank is on the right, and you can see that that plate is intact. So sorry to get into this kind of minutia, but I don't want you to be confused when you stare at this and wonder why this looks different than the tripod that you have, which should look like this. So let's go back to that diagram, and really the key here is that they're using shims, 6 of them, and they're in the bottom right-hand corner, and those shims go into positions number 1, 2, and 4. And if you look inside of the spider on the left, you can see the 1, 2, and the 4. And the way that the shim looks, it looks like a number 7. So the horizontal is a short little line, and then the vertical is long and flat. And what you want to do when you insert the shims, and 3 of them go on the top of the spider, and then 3 of them go on the bottom of the spider. And what you want to do when you put them in is you want to have the vertical flat side pointing and touching the center column. And you want to have the 7, the top of the 7, the horizontal piece, heading towards the outside of the spider. And that will conveniently fill the little notch that you'll see that is left there. So you don't necessarily see the notches that well on the top of this image here because the plate has been removed in the diagram that Manfrotto has made, but you can sort of see the notches if you look at the bottom of the spider here. So if you look at number 1, number 2, you can see where it notches out at the bottom. So, you know, basically you're nudging in the 7 so that it fills in the void and it looks flush like this. The other things that you'll need to realign or adjust is the lock-off pad. The lock-off pad has kind of a curved surface. That curved surface is going to be resting against the center column. And it has a metal disc, and the metal disc is actually going to be facing to the outside of the spider, and that is, you know, you have a screw that kind of goes into that from the lock-off knob, and you know that metal screw, you want it to hit that metal pad So that's the orientation of that, and it should be pretty obvious. The plastic is curved on the other side. And then the wedge, which goes in position number 1, here you have, you have the lock-off crank. I'm sorry, you have the crank to raise and lower the tripod column, the geared column, and the way the wedge works is it's going to be a wedge. On the bottom, it's going to be flat, and then the two pieces go together with a spring. And when you look at it all put together, it's going to make a pyramid. And the pointy part of the pyramid, the thing that rises up, you want that pointing into the center column. So the flat pieces of these wedges go against the spider, and the pyramid part goes into the center column. I'm going to attach a video that another person did when they were working on a very similar tripod. I think it has the same center column. They worked on a Manfrotto 475, which is a little bit more common tripod than this one. And, the reason that I did not follow that tripod and that I'm doing it the way that I'm showing you here is because I didn't see an easy way to entirely take apart my center column. In that other video, they are removing the cover plate at the top of the center column, and it didn't appear to me that there was a way or an easy way to do it with the version that I have. But at any rate, you can reference that video, which will be linked in the show notes. And they do a little bit better job of showing the orientation of some of these pieces than maybe I can describe here. So there's two things you need to do then at this point. One is you need to take the legs off, and I'm going to show you a way to do that. And then you're going to need to obviously reassemble it. So I took more of the tripod apart than I needed to. It's not hard to take it apart, but it was a little bit challenging to put it back together. So what I'm going to try to explain is if I were to do it over, this is how I would do it. And, if you look here, you can see the spreaders join the center column. And the way they join the center column is through this plate at the bottom. And the plate actually screws into these 3 rods that go the entire length of the center column. They're like stainless steel rods. And the way you take those off is there's 3 7mm bolts that are brass, I guess they're brass color at least. And so take a 7mm socket, and a long socket, a long narrow one is easier to work with if you have it. And once you release those bolts, what you're going to end up with is this. And what you need to do is you need to take the tube in this photo and pull it down, and that will expose the entire geared center column. You'll end up with something that looks like this. And you can either remove it now, or you can remove it after you've entirely taken the legs off, which I'm going to explain in a moment. But I found that if you just move the spreaders down to the ground or further down, you can get enough working room in order to just pull that cover off. And I guess once you get those nuts taken off, put them in a dish. They're really easy. These are small parts. They're really easy to misplace, and you're going to be upset if you misplace them. So, and there's other parts you're going to want to collect in a dish as well. So, the lock-off pad and the shims and the wedge, they're going to go every place once you take the center column out. So gather them and just use a dish. But at any rate, once you have this center column exposed, the next thing you need to do is there's going to be some stoppers, little plastic wedges that are like a disc. You see one here on the right. And there's 3 of them. And if you're able to get them out with your hand, that's perfect. I ended up using the flat side of a screwdriver to nudge it out. And likewise, when I put it back in, I used a pair of pliers to help get it started. So pliers and a screwdriver will help if you're having an issue with that. What these plugs do is they keep you from... They're a limiter. So if you were to totally crank up the center column, you are... it's going to stop once it hits these little wedges. But you want to take the center column entirely out for this process. So you're going to need to remove those. So what you're going to be faced with, well, I should say there's one more step you need to do, and that is you need to remove the legs from the spider. And there's 3 attachment points for the legs to the spider. You can look at one right here. They're big. They're the biggest part of the tripod. They're 4 inches by 3 inches. You take them apart with a 5mm Allen wrench. So there's on the other side of these bolts are going to be nuts. And you want to collect the 4 nuts, not lose those. They would go in the dish as well. And you don't need to take it 100% off. You just need to loosen it enough so that you can pull the 3 legs out. So when you pull the legs out, the legs are going to be intact, and the the braces are going to be intact. The braces are still going to be attached to this little round plate that you see here. And what you're going to have is just the spider with those 3 large clamps, if you will, still attached to it. It's going to look kind of like this. This photo does not show the clamps, and it also doesn't show the cover plate. But at this point, collect all the parts. So once you take the center column out, by cranking it all the way up, you are going to notice that everything goes everywhere. So you want 6 shims, 1 lock off, and the wedge. And the wedge is either going to be 3 pieces, as you see here. It could be 2 pieces, like 1 wedge attached to a spring, or it could be 1 piece, 2 wedges attached to the spring. The wedges are explained. You can see better orientation and picture of those in the attached video. But what you want to do then is work from the top of the spider, the part that you're looking at here, to the bottom. So put the 3 of the shims in, and again, the flat side is going to go flush with the flat part of the center column. The horizontal piece, and I said it's like a little 7. The horizontal piece, the leftmost part of that piece is going to point to the outside of the center column, or the spider, I should say. And it's going to fill the void that you see here. And we're just working on the top. So 3 are going to go on the top, flush with the top center cover. And this is the next thing I wish I would have done differently. And that is have a friend. So 2 sets of hands are going to really, really, really speed up the process. If you can't find a friend, you can use little, maybe I haven't tried this, but you could use little pieces of tape, because when you are trying to insert the shims into these little slots, they don't really want to stay there. And they have to be there when you surgically reinstall the center column. And what do I mean by surgically? Well, the center column has to go in, kind of dead straight into this hole. And once you get it just ever so slightly in the hole, then it'll catch on the hand crank, and you can kind of crank it in a couple of millimeters, and then the shims are going to be sort of locked in place. And at this point, you've only put in 3 of the 6 shims. You have not put in the lock-off pad. You have not put in the wedges. So then you're going to flip it over. The spider is going to be flipped upside down. And you can put in the lock-off pad, and you can put in the wedge. And again, the lock-off pad, the little metal disc, is going to go against the screw. And on the other side of the lock-off pad, it's going to be concave. And that concave is going to go against one of the round parts of the center column. So it acts like a brake. You turn the knob, which you can see here on the left, and it's going to put a little bit of pressure on that pad, and that pad has a lot of surface area, and that's going to grip the center column. That's how that thing works. You can also put in the wedge, and the wedge is going to be, think of it as a pyramid, and the center of the pyramid is where the spring goes. The spring joins 2 pieces, and on the bottom of the pyramid, it's flat. So the flat part goes flush against the spider, and the pyramid actually points into the center column. And that goes into position number 1. And you might want to turn the center column 1 or 2 more millimeters just to hold those pieces into place. And then you put in the last 3 shims, and they go in the same way. The flat side is going to, the bottom is going to look identical to this, in that the shim is going to be flush with the bottom of the spider. So the vertical piece, which is flat, goes against the flat part of the center column. And the top horizontal piece that looks, the leftmost part of that is going to point to the outside of the spider. And then you crank it further. So you now have the crank 100% in the spider. And congratulations, you've just done all the hard work. So, and you want a friend for the top part, and you want a friend for the bottom part. So it helps if you have another friend that can hold the 3 shims in when you're placing them in, and then trying to adjust the center column to go in evenly. And even on the bottom, once you have the center column in, it helps to have a friend or some tape, but I would grab a friend, and that'll really, really, really speed up the process. And, once you get that in place, then you can start putting it back together. You can, reattach the legs. You can put the cover back on over the center column, and then you can, I found it easiest with these rods if I put the rod in the bottom of the holder. The holder is the piece that connects the spreaders to the legs, and then threaded it all the way up. So one of the things you should notice on the on these brass, or not brass, but stainless steel rods, is that they are threaded. The shortest threads are at the bottom. The longest threads are at the top. So just pay attention to the orientation. And yeah, that should be it. Mine works perfectly after making that adjustment. I didn't need to buy any new parts. I didn't need to take it to a service center. I just needed a little bit of patience, and what would have really made this a much smoother process is if I would have had an extra set of hands helping to hold these small pieces in place while I was doing the work.